Hello, everyone. Welcome, 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 welcome. Oh, there we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome, 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 welcome. Sorry, had to mute. Had to mute. Oof, today's been a nice day. Starting early, or so I guess apparently we're gonna be doing 8 o'clock because I like sleep, as do other people that have um spoken unto me. Let me slide over. Give me that piece of paper. Give me 2 seconds. All right. Whew, bless the Lord on my soul. We are talking. Oh, that's why. Okay, okay. I'm like, there's something really odd about the way this is shaping up. I got a bag over here. I'm prepared, y'all. I'm prepared. Okay, so we're talking democracy. Democracia. I don't even know if that's Spanish for democracy, but I like it. And so we're going with it. Okay. All things work out. Okay, so sorry, we're talking democracy. We're talking about America and democracy in particular. Um, I'm going to give it a couple minutes for some people to jump on, and I'm not talking to myself, although we all know that I can, but I shalln't. I made up that word, shalln't. I shall not. In the meantime, between time, go ahead and make sure you like, you share on your page, and you join the conversation. I again have, per usual, bop the link in the comment section. Sometimes you do bop a link in a link, and sometimes I do that. So go ahead and click that so you can join the conversation and be amazing with me. Let me tell you, how did this conversation come up? I don't know how it came up. But I was talking to someone. I think they made mention of how other countries are doing and what they're doing and how they're getting it done, the mask mandates and all that other stuff. And I was like, oh, America. Oh, America. Are we doing something right? Or are we doing something wrong? And I think that's the question that I would like to have answered today. Are we doing something right or are we doing something very, very wrong? For those that are on right now, go ahead and like. I'm waiting. Go ahead and share. Waiting. And click the button to join. Talk to me. How do you feel about democracy in America? How do I feel about this tea right now? I don't know. So I'm just gonna wait for. I'm just waiting for hosts to come, co-host people to come on and chitter chat with me about this. Oh shoot, this will probably be a two-topic night, just so you know, because I have something else I want to talk about. So yes, yes, okay. Let me tell you about my day real quick. Oh, I have baby birds. I would show you them, but they're over there squawking like they didn't just eat. I don't know how y'all do it with kids. Stuff. It's a tough world out here. Okay. Let me actually, I need to do some housekeeping my daggone self. So, like, share, Um, like, share, subscribe to the YouTube. If you're going to comment, you might have to put your name in there also so that I know who is commenting, and I have to flop, and try to figure out who it is. That'd be very kind of you. See, let me just say this before these people come on. They asked for 8 o'clock. I was cool with 8 o'clock because that means I get to get in bed early, or I can try to get fit. But they asked for 8 o'clock. But I'm not going to judge them. Oh, don't tell them I said that, okay? Because they're probably not even watching. And even if they are, they're probably doing something. Hey, how are you?
I'm well. How are you? Do you get the name?
Papa Democracy? Papa Doc? Papa Doc? Papa Doc? No.
So Papa Doc was the infamous dictator in Haiti, Jean-Claude Duvalier, who
Haiti.
the country has been in a constant state of civil unrest since he was deposed, and according to him, hello.
Talk about being left in suspense. Oh my gosh. I was like,
Ac-
according to him, what?
According to him, a place. Maybe they got my phone tapped. According to him, a place like are are you pushing the
Okay,
button over there?
government. We see you, government.
According to him, a place like Haiti had to have a dictator rule in order to be successful, and many people now believe that maybe he was right.
Well, that's interesting. I feel like Haiti would have been just fine had America not bothered it.
With the idea of democracy, though,
With any idea. The idea of having your pet spayed or neutered, just leave them all alone. All about me, never about you. What? What are these? What does that one mean? Oh, yeah,
It
you are
says,
muted.
are Americans too selfish to make decent choices?
mm,
Hmm.
So we're talking to. Make sure you share and like the live while you're
I'm
here.
gonna I'm gonna
Go
do
ahead
that.
and do that. I just want to say something bit me yesterday on my bike, and I still feel like it's stinging me. So if you see me do this, it's because it's got its grips on my shoulder blade. So we're talking, of course, America and dictatorship. Should America give up the idea of democracy and go dictatorship? Um, with everything that's going on with, like, oh, okay, well, maybe I guess I should start with what are your thoughts on democracy? Let's start there, which is the ability to vote as you wish and your vote count.
I like it. I feel like I would rather that than a dictatorship. I mean, do votes really count? I guess that's the question of the day. But I like the idea that it does. Yeah, I would rather keep it like it is. Um, even though some people are at a disadvantage, um, and we all know who those people are. I
Hmm.
mean, and it is the what is it? What do they call it? Not Big Brother, but powers that be. You
Oh,
know,
okay.
it is a select few. Pulling the strings, and I've said before, I feel like Americans are the biggest test subjects there are. We're like little rats, like little test. It's the biggest experiment there is. But
You mean America as
I
a whole or the American people?
American people,
Okay, which
yeah.
makes America as a whole, basically.
But yeah, but I'm saying America as a people by Americans though, and other probably world leaders. But some Americans are in on it, so not
Right.
all America is being experimented. But But I mean, but I would still would prefer the idea of democracy.
Okay. Um, so okay. So what do you think about the idea, Papa Doc? Did you want to say anything about your thoughts on democracy? Okay, that's weird. Um, thoughts on dictatorship? You, all about me. Oh, selfish one.
Excuse the little people walking around the background. Um, Again, I'm for a democracy. I feel like, there is dictatorship going on in America, but I feel like the only dictatorship happens within my household, where I am the ultimate ruler and the ultimate decision maker. We ain't, I'm just kidding. But
Whatever. The
I
flashback was real.
no,
This is not a democracy. This is a
no, my
dictatorship.
girls have
Okay,
a
ma.
voice that is just very soft, but they do have a voice. Um, but I feel like no, I wouldn't want dictatorship. I feel like too much power is dangerous, no matter what institution it is. With it, if it's in a company, if it's in a church, because man can't control themselves. The need to be number one, the need to be whatever is just too great for one person.
They need to be popular. They need to be the one that everybody knows, everybody looks up to.
Right. And then Trump uses the word loyalty all the time. You feel like people, too much power, then you expecting things that you shouldn't be getting. It's just a
Right.
lot. So no, I don't agree with dictatorship at all.
Okay, because I asked that because based on, so in America we have these things called representatives. And let's say for, I think each state, and I'm not like, I don't know about all the branches in Congress and whatever, but each state gets 2 representatives. There's 5 million people in Florida, let's just say. Each of those people have 2.5 million votes. That to me is dictatorship. That's a level of dictatorship. Because why can't each person just vote for what they want and they go off the popular vote? Does that make sense? Um, and but with that, I also feel like Americans, we don't think as a people. Like we don't think. Like we just go with what feels good to us and not what's best for the country. What what benefits our current circumstances and not the circumstances long term.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know where we are, but I think democracy is situational. Do you need an explanation on that?
Well,
Good.
obviously.
Good. So I believe that there are some places where it's been proven that the democratic experience does not work. I'll give you Iraq for a reason, for an example. We deposed Saddam Hussein, and literally ever since
Who?
then, Saddam Hussein,
Okay.
we deposed him, and ever since then, it has been unstable. The region has been unstable. Look what happened in Egypt when it happened there. Look what's happened in Libya there. And I'm not saying that it's because democracy does not work, but we have to admit most countries that are lasting, that even get to the democratic phase, did not start off as democracies. England and multiple other places. So I think democracy in itself is an infant compared to world history. So we can't
Mhm.
say that democracy is the only way. I think that fair dictatorship, now I'm not talking about genocide and atrocities that happen in a lot of these places, but I do believe that democracy should be relative to regions and historical context, because some places it just doesn't work.
Okay, so how do you feel about a monarchy? Like in, because you mentioned England. So England has a democracy, quote unquote, but they also have a monarch. They also have a king and a queen. So, how do you feel about king, queen? Then you have your prime minister and all those other
I think that
blocks.
even though England is democratic, I think that even in America we have kings and queens. I think that we call them
Beyonce and
president.
Jay Z,
Right.
or should I
I
say Megan the Stallion
I
and Jay
think
Z?
even if you look at this situation with Trump being indicted, I think that people who say, "Well, that wouldn't have happened if it was a regular person," they're picking on him. I see that differently. I think there are a lot of things that happen to regular people that don't happen to people like Trump because of who they are. You know what I mean?
Right,
And so I think that we say we have we don't we do have democracy. I won't say America's a great country, but I do think we have king and queen. I don't think that one person should have all rule, but I do believe that at some point democracy or the majority rules, because that's what a democracy is. That the majority of the people, I think that that is an issue because some stuff just is dumb, and just because a lot of people want it, we should have somebody who can say, based on a set of values and morals, we're not doing that. I don't care how many people want it. Men who were born men are not going to the bathroom with my daughter.
right. But who's going to say that? And the queen and king actually have no power. They can't vote for anything.
Right.
They just have a title and take people's stuff. Africa want their stuff back. Give Africa their belongings back. Um. So, but and I understand that. Like some places democracy will work, and some places, or not even some places, on some instances democracy will work, and on some instances the dictatorship will work. Like the COVID mask protocol thing, it differed from China versus America.
Mm-hmm.
China nipped the bud, quick, fast, in a hurry. America, we're still going through it because everybody gets their choice. Everybody gets to pick and choose what they want to do, even between the states. So, how does that work? Do you have, should democracy or should the rules work for each state in America, or should states be able to get their own say?
I- So I think states have sovereign power now, right? That's why you have state
Hmm.
laws and fed laws. Certain things that the federal government is is bound from doing to states. States over marriage. There's no federal marriage mandate. States mandate marriage, and these things. I don't think that we should have 51 states doing what they want to do because we won't be a country then. And in order to be a country, you have to have some semblance of culture, community, some code that we all live by, that we all subscribe to. I think that in America, where we get off in democracy and what makes democracy a bad thing
How? Yep. Hmm.
I my job just called. I don't know what's going on. But literally, I think what we get off in America, what makes democracy a bad thing, is that because there is no civility anymore, and we don't have morals. Remember when democracy was created in this country? It was democracy, but it was one nation under God, and whether you subscribe to God or not, that was the thing that governed the governors. So the more we put that one thing, you could almost say that if there was a dictator, then it was the Bible, was that it dictated what was acceptable. Now that we have, throw that out the way, and whatever I feel is right, if I can convince more people to feel what I feel is right, it is possible in America for us to throw out every law. We could make murder legal if enough people sent enough
Hmm.
congressmen who wrote a law and said murder is now legal. That's the problem with democracy. There is no absolute um, governor in democracy, where in a dictatorship, there is.
Oh, what did you say? Okay. I feel like we have that now. Like our president can basically veto or go, this is what it'll be. governors can basically make decisions on their own.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
it's like every state is a dictatorship according to what the person in charge wants it to be. Like everybody else be darned. It doesn't matter. So it's like, okay, so I guess the question will be, are we moving toward a dictatorship? Okay, why are you looking crazy? Are we moving toward a dictatorship, or do you think America is just a very poor um yes, this thing, a very poor democracy, like a very un I mean, they created they kind of created democracy, but they're still not good at it. I guess that's the question.
No, I don't think we are.
You're muted.
Yeah, I don't think we are. I think that, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, no, I don't think we are. I think slowly our opinions, even though we feel like they matter, they don't really matter because the agenda is kind of somewhat set. But no, I don't think we'll get to a dictatorship. Hopefully not.
Anybody else thoughts on if we're moving toward a dictatorship?
Nah, I definitely don't think that. But when you said that it's not working, what do you mean by that?
About that democracy isn't working?
Yeah.
Because each vote doesn't count. And that, like I said earlier, these two representatives that represent the state gets to split 5 million votes. We only get our votes are based on what these two people want. And it's usually based on what the people who voted for them want. So they don't do their job according to everybody. It's just their base.
Right.
What's right for the state versus what's right for just one group of people. I don't think that's working.
But I think
I don't want a dictatorship. I'm for democracy.
But I think that's why it's important to vote on the local levels. I think a lot of Americans only vote in the presidential.
Right.
But if you will vote in your local and in your state levels, then you will see more of the outcome that you want. And I do feel like, every vote counts. If you have your representatives that go on your behalf, on your behalf of certain issues, but I feel like every vote does count. Because then they wouldn't be saying, "Oh, he won Florida" or whatever. It'll just be those two people going and casting their votes. Once you voted for your representative, it'll just be them two voting. But
you
that's
also
not
have to consider the
I have a
electoral
question.
college.
I have a
right.
question. Were you saying? I'm
You
sorry.
got it.
Were you? Hey, man, we can sing together. We can't talk together. Were you saying that you don't believe in the two-party system, meaning that even though millions of votes are cast, that just these two parties have power, so therefore we're not a democracy? Or were you saying the two senators that we have or the representatives that we have, that they're not a true representation of the majorities?
I don't think the two representatives are the representatives are a true representation of the best for the whole. They're only representing those that voted for them. And even if it's a representative that I voted for and he's representing my best interest, I would still want that person to, great, Democrats, this is what they need, this is what they want, for what's best for the state. But my thing is, I feel like those people have so much power in voting that's scary. Like, and if you think about it, these jokers aren't even voting according to what the people want because they don't ask us.
So
they're voting for what their emotions and
so
what
you think
they
everything, do you think every law, like the votes they have day to day, you think those votes should be tabulated by the entire mass society?
No, I definitely don't. That's how they're doing it. Might be the only way they can do it. Or maybe we should have more people representing the states. Like two people representing 5 million people is crazy. But you have a mayor in each city.
So you think the
You,
Senate
you,
should be
but you,
larger?
yeah, the Senate, because the House is bigger than two
Yeah, the
people.
House has 435 representatives because you get more representatives based on your population. But you mean
Right.
the Senate, which is arguably the most important chamber. You believe the Senate is not a true. We need more senators.
I think we need more people, whichever one it is. Mr. Greco, I'm sorry. Okay. I passed. I got an A. I don't know how. We're going to blame you for that. I don't know what number goes where. I know math. Okay.
Right.
But I feel like we need more people representing well, whichever one is the like makes the bigger decisions. So like for example, whichever one was voting for the what's that one lady? Supreme Court.
That's the Senate. They
We need
control
more
those.
people to represent these states. We need more people to represent the number of people that you have.
Even if the majority of voters put these people in office, you don't think that that rounded number saying, okay, the majority of the people like what you think and they trust your decision making, you think that we still need more people?
Well, then that goes back to the fact where I think that people vote for example, there's this one lady, actually there's two of them. They voted for Trump because he looked royal. He looked like royalty. They didn't vote for him because of his politics. They didn't vote for him because of something he said. They didn't vote for him because he's old enough. They voted for him because he looks royal. So
Right.
no, people aren't making decisions based on what's best for the country. They're making decisions. They're making it's a popularity contest, or they're gonna get rid of all these iggers. Like
Are you sure you're pro democracy?
Yeah, because I don't
I
see
am pro democracy.
I don't
I
see,
just think I'm sorry. Go ahead, Leroy.
I don't see it as a popularity contest because if we go by the popular vote, then you know what I'm saying. The popular vote is the one who really rarely ever gets in, right?
But
Minus
isn't the popular vote the country's vote?
it is, but the way they said, so I think that they should do away with the electoral votes, right?
Right.
I agree with you on that, that they should do away with the electoral votes and go with the popular vote because the popular vote says this is who the people want. But to say that, you know what I'm saying, democracy in and of itself isn't necessarily working, I think when we look at other countries,
I didn't.
you,
I didn't say it wasn't working. I said it's not working that well.
yeah, same difference. We're not
Even
working, not
well, I
working
mean,
because
no, it can be working. It just like a clock can be. A broken clock gonna be right twice a day,
but
but
mhm.
it's still working. It's still functioning. It's working. It's just not
not, if,
working correctly.
not if it's broken.
It's not. It's no. It's still working. It's just not working correctly. A car can run. It's working. It's getting you from here to there, but you have an oil leak.
Mm-hmm.
It's still not working. It's not working like it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see what you saying. You saying there's kinks in the system
Right.
that could be fixed, and
And the
then
electoral college is definitely one of them that
I
should be
yeah
fixed.
I agree. I think they should get rid of the electoral college vote and then go to the actual popular vote.
But
Right.
see, but, and I'm not an electoral
I'm sorry. Let me
college.
just say one thing. Papa Doc, I don't know what lighting you're using right now, sir, but it's lighting. Okay, it's lighting. Go ahead, as
Yeah,
you were.
I don't know if like I'm not an electoral college fan because but I do believe the purpose of it to give smaller states who have less people a say so because there's some places like North Dakota, places that aren't as populated. If they
Mhm.
were dealing with popular vote alone, they would never matter. You know what I mean? So by giving them electors and a number of electors that allows them to be competitive at the table means that people have to earn their votes because the amount of votes they have it matters. So
What
I think that I'm although I'm against it, I do sort of kind of see. I think it needs to be fixed, but something has to happen. I think this is what I think personally. I
only
think
you respond to something real quick.
sure.
You mentioned about it being like because of let's say North Dakota, whatever, the amount of people, so it doesn't bring fairness to the actual table. But then if you in North Dakota and it's a bunch of Republicans that live there, how does it make it fair for the Democrat, for people who are Democratic, right? So it's like a give and choose, it's like a give and take around the nation in of itself. Because if we talk about it as a nation, North Dakota, whether however many people that they got, they're still a part of the nation. So you know, to say to be focused on this one state versus the entire nation, I think it does us a disservice, right? Because it doesn't stop them from, for me, in my opinion, stop them from having an actual voice. Because if it's for 3 million people, that all 3 million people get a vote, right? The whether it's, you know, whether they ain't got as many people as Florida, you know what I'm saying? Like that's on the state. That's not, that doesn't make them more or less or more powerful. You understand what I'm saying? It's, to me, it's more about everybody having the right to vote. And if we look at us as one nation, right, and as one nation, everybody gets to cast their vote, and the majority wins for this particular president, then that's just what it is, right? When it comes to that particular part, you feel what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Electoral college is just more on the notion of, you know, how we vote for the president and stuff like that. But when it comes to regular matters like state and local matters, then that wouldn't change. Does that make sense?
Right. No, no, I get that.
Yeah, yeah. So
And
that's
that's what I was gonna say. Like, I don't know who living in South Dakota. I heard they have some very nice thrift stores there, but I don't know who living in South Dakota. North Dakota, even worse, unless you work in a pipeline. But like the realist said, each person is getting a vote. Like, forget that they need X amount of people to represent them because they're a smaller state. Those 300 people in South Dakota are getting 300 votes, just like those 3 million people in New Mexico are getting their 3 million votes. So I don't see the point of the electoral college.
So you think in a pure democracy, everything is majority only?
And if you're going to call it a democracy, yeah, if you're going to say each vote counts, then let each vote count. Like, isn't it with the presidency or with anything or whatever? Um, when what how does, or somebody can explain it to me. How does the, you know how they light up each county and one's red, one's blue, and then it's like, okay, well, you got more reds, so you get all of these three votes from the state of Florida. Like,
That's exactly how it happened. It is possible for you to get a majority of the votes, but because you carry more counties, you get more electoral votes. That is a real thing. It's possible to do that because you have to win. For example, real basic, if there are 10 counties in a state and you win 9 of those counties, the thought is, okay, you won 9 counties out of 10. But let's say that one county you didn't win has more people in it than all the other 9 combined.
right.
They would say, well, you still win the state. But I sort of kind of understand that, because do you want the people in this county, even though they're the majority in the state, their decision making is only going to affect this one area, where all the other counties would be at a disadvantage, in my opinion, because that center of power and whatever counties or few counties that is would control what happens in areas that they do not live.
But they wouldn't if there was no electoral college.
No, right. But I think also when they vote though, right? Because if you win 9 out of 10 counties, ain't nowhere in the world you winning that one county is going supersede the other 9, because that
Maybe
would,
in South Dakota.
yeah, maybe, but because you know they would be voting based on which representative won for each county. So if it's a
Correct.
Republican, a Democrat, so if more Democrats, or let's just say more Republicans win, that are voted in, then that's how they actually win. So I couldn't see. I mean, and maybe there are scenarios where, I know that was just an example, but I'm just saying you would look at the counties in and of itself and see who vote in blue and who vote in red. But I wanted to respond to the bottom of the question when you said do you think that Americans are Americans too selfish to make the decent choice? How like elaborate on that? What does that mean?
Um, okay, so there's been a story about a chick who got an entire curriculum removed, an entire curriculum from a school removed because she said that it spoke about basically black issues. And in the state of Florida, if you talk about something that offends, then you can't,
Even if it's true
even if it's true.
and historically fact.
Right.
But I think in Florida and
Well, this is just to give an example of how I don't think people are given a decent or selfish. And I don't think by what you're asking, you asked me how I
Yeah,
thought.
I'm trying to unpack that, because even in the example that you're giving, right, it could be said that the other person is being selfish as well by trying to promote that they're only focused on their interests, they're only focused on what they want, and how dare somebody else who has an opposing view against them say that we shouldn't do this, and because it's subjective. So how do we?
No, I don't think the person that's teaching history, that's teaching factual information, is being selfish, because what they're teaching is about the slave trade. They're also teaching about the Holocaust. They're also teaching about the Louisiana Purchase. They're also talking about, they're talking about everything. They're not just focusing, unless you're in Africana studies, which even still, because I was in Africana studies, they teach about everything. They're teaching about the whole. This person is only concerned about this one piece that they do not like, so they don't want that taught.
Right,
And I
but then
think
the
that's what
other
America does.
right,
I
but
don't
then,
like. I'm sorry.
but what I'm saying is the other person would be doing the same thing, whether the information is true or false, right? Let's just say the information is true, right? Just because you want to teach it doesn't mean you have the right to teach it, right? There's a reason why you want to believe that you want to educate these people on said topic, right? And that reason would be from whatever point of view that person believes. Is that correct?
no,
No,
no.
What would y'all walk me
it
through?
would be
What would it be
based.
from?
It's a syllabus.
No. I don't. No, what I'm saying, if we're introducing new information inside of a system, right,
Mhm.
which is
Okay.
what we would be doing, right? Why would we be? What would be the root cause for somebody to say, "I want to introduce new information inside of this new system," if it wasn't predicated upon what they wanted?
I think that no. I think it's not a want. I don't think it's a want that they want. I think there is a fundamental need amongst all classes, all races, all individuals to know history, especially history about 400 years of what
Hold
American
on.
white
I got
people can do to American black people if we don't have the proper uh, um, checks and balances in place. I don't think that's a want. I think
I
that's a
think
need.
Wait, let me say something.
I think the statement in and of itself that you just made only proves my point. You said, "I think." Gerard, I think. So what
Let,
I'm gonna do is I'm gonna agree with what I think. This is a decision that I believe, but not everybody believes what you believe.
okay, let's push that to the side. Let's push history to the
Would you
side.
agree? Not everybody believes what you believe. It's like
Uh,
some people don't believe that it should be that they think something different. So we're
Okay.
still posing our views based on what we believe to be true, what we want for ourselves. So in the context of that, if you're saying that are Americans too selfish to make this the decent choice, then I would say, yeah, both sides are selfish because we want what we want.
okay,
I,
I'm going to push the history thing to the side. Let's say mathematically. Mathematically now, let's say a new mathematical concept comes up where 1 + 1 does equal 3. And they introduce that into mathematics. Are they not supposed to?
right.
I mean, that's just like saying you can't introduce,
I don't get that. I'm trying to understand. I'm trying
because
to,
you said that them introducing new concepts
yeah.
is selfish.
No. I said what I'm saying is it would be based off what a person wants. So it would be their own basic point. Because anytime somebody does something that's selfish, it's based on it's based off what they want, what they have
Right.
a desire for. So what I'm saying that, yeah, I think that when it comes down, if we take that same concept that you mentioned, right, that the other side would be able to say the same thing, that they're selfish, they're only thinking about them, they're only thinking about their people, they're only thinking about these are the things that they are thinking about. And I
Right.
don't honestly think anybody could disagree with that statement with a clear conscience, because
Nah.
that's my point of view.
And
So
what I'm saying is,
what is uh-huh.
you can't say somebody teaching any subject, math, science, history, language arts, whatever the case may be, you can't say that they're being selfish for teaching that subject matter.
No, that's not what
They're
I'm saying.
not being selfish.
No, hold on. I'm not saying that they're selfish for teaching the subject matter. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying if somebody teaches this particular thing that they are selfish. I'm saying when they want to introduce the new system inside of that, it is based off of something that they have a desire that they want to know. So that
Okay,
doesn't
what's the
make
new
them
system?
teaching it. I'm just saying we were just
Right.
talking about,
Okay.
like you mentioned the history thing, or even if we look at the 1 + 1 = 3, right? Like it's like, okay, 1 + 1 = 3. Should we not introduce it into it? Or I wouldn't say that we shouldn't introduce 1 + 1 = 3 if it's going to actually, if that would be true, right? But we know 1 + 1 can't equal 3. So I couldn't, that to me that don't make no sense. Like we wouldn't introduce, but I would say that when they introduced a new math system for kids to do division and multiplication, how difficult that made that, I thought that was something that was selfish, because when they do math now, and I'm just like, oh, why you just didn't do this and get this? Like the old way worked, but whoever came up with the idea, let's introduce this, it was predicated on what they thought was best, not what was best for everybody.
See, and this is the problem with democracy. This is why I think democracy has flaws, because to hear you say about a new subject matter that the root of it has to be someone feels like this should be done. I get that, right? Because if there was a time where it wasn't done, it would have to be someone feeling like it should be done. But that's the problem with democracy, because and that's what I said earlier, when you give away, when you put the Bible out, which was the anchor of democracy in this country, because it was something that people looked to as the absolute authority. We built it upon that. So it's democracy with boundaries. If you have to justify teaching history as a selfish thing because someone says, I think this should be put in, I think that we should feel, all of us should feel, that history, good, bad, and ugly, should be taught. But you're right. If I don't feel like that, I guess that is a selfish statement, because that's my feeling. But that's why we need something to tell us, I guess, what we should feel like. Go dictatorship.
But
But
no, but I don't think it's a feeling if someone should be teaching the whole of a thing. And there's always going to be new concepts to be introduced. The thing, not wanting that new concept introduced, although it's a part of that subject matter,
okay.
that is selfish.
Okay, so then there is nothing wrong, according to, if I just take that premise that you both of you guys just said, there is nothing wrong with, if we talking about teaching the whole of a thing, there's nothing wrong with uh educators introducing to young kids transphobia, homosexuality, and all those different things inside, because they're teaching the whole of a thing. There's
Uh-oh.
nothing wrong with that,
In
then,
a sex
correct?
education class? No.
No, that was, see. So I see what you're saying. It has to be subjected to a sex education class,
It has to relate to the subject matter.
right? So what I'm saying is, if they're teaching it from that subject matter, right? Like if they're
Mhm.
teaching it from the subject matter of sexes, here are the sexes. Here's what transphobia is. Here's what homosexuality. Here are these things, and it's okay for a man to kiss a man. If they're teaching that thing, you're saying that's okay because they're teaching the whole of the matter, and that can be
That's
introduced.
actually a good argument.
That can be they can be introduced into education. Is that if I'm understanding
So
your
what
point?
I'm saying is, in college, no, legit. If you, first of all, a parent has to agree that a child can take a sex education class. One. Two, you sign up for the class you take in college. Do you not? If you don't want to take that class, if you don't want to learn that particular topic,
I
then
think
you
that's
don't sign up for the
I think
class.
you deflect.
I don't think that they should completely discard
I
a
think that's
curriculum because one person complains about something.
I
Wait,
think that's
wait,
a
hold on. Wait, man. Brandy, to his point, because although I disagree with him, I can appreciate a good argument. To his point, in Florida, and I hate to make it Florida specific, it seems like in the light of them saying we don't want you talking about transsexual and sex education, the Don't Say Gay bill, and in light of them saying we don't want you talking about um, massa and what white folks did because it makes white people feel guilty about their past. It that does seem like it's a fair spectrum because they are saying, okay, we won't allow you all to make white folks feel bad. We won't allow you all to make straight people feel bad and homosexuals feel evil as well because we just won't talk about it at all. I think that that is a valid argument in the sense that, okay, anything controversial, we're saying, because if you say nope, you have to teach the whole, tell them about how Massa killed us and ripped us apart by the ankles and the arm. Okay, well, that's a part of American history. If they can handle something as gory as that in middle school and high school, it's going to come a time where people are going to say they can handle I was born a man, I feel like a woman, and push that on them as well. I think that's actually a pretty good argument.
Again, that's that would be an elective course. Like, I'm not disagreeing with, you can introduce that into a curriculum, go for it. But if my child isn't signing up for that class, then I have no say. I can't say what you can teach in that class. I can only decide if my child will take that class or not. I can only decide if I will be in that class or not.
Well,
But I
should
think
white kids?
So you saying you are okay with them teaching that? You are okay with them introducing that into the system, and you be okay with that because they're
What
teaching
I'm
the
saying
whole.
is,
Because they're teaching the whole of a thing. That's yes, I'm okay with it, or no, I'm not okay with it.
what I'm saying is they can introduce fact all they want, but that doesn't mean I have to sign up for that class. Teach whatever you
That's not the
want.
question I asked you, Brandy. That's not the question I asked.
But Brandy,
I
let me
asked
ask you
you,
this.
are you okay with them introducing that into the actual? Are you okay with that? Would you be okay with them introducing and teaching that as the whole of a thing?
And
Because
part
they're
two,
saying,
and part two, should white parents then have the option of saying, I'll sign my child up to learn about slavery. I don't want my child to learn about slavery.
That's what they're allowed to do now, though. They're allowed to do that now. That's literally a part of what is going on. And if they
Okay.
complain about that subject matter, then their child does not have to be a part of that lesson.
Also,
mm,
Brenda, are you looking up some of the answer, Leroy? Oh,
Uh,
I I'm kind of a little behind, but I feel like I have no problem with them teaching whatever they're gonna teach. I do feel like, I mean, uh sexuality is a thing like that's going on, and I feel like as parents, because a lot of people, Christian believers, we don't agree with that. Okay, great, you don't believe in it, good, but that doesn't change that it's happening, that's what's going on, and that this is the way that the world is going. We're not, we're behind it now. So I feel like we put a lot of emphasis on what is taught at school, but if that's not your beliefs, then that's what you need to solidify in your home.
right.
Because we can't say my child didn't sign up for that course, because literature, English, there's going to be transgender authors, there's going to be homosexual authors. That's going to be introduced in all subjects.
Right.
Eventually.
In math, you're going to have mathematical problems where there's going to say Joey and his boyfriend went to the mall and bought 5 apples.
Right.
That's happening. We're not, so I have no issue
Oh my God, that's scary.
but I have no issue with that because we are naive to think that just because we're keeping out of the school system, it doesn't exist to our child. They're
Right.
going to school with children who are doing way more than we do, and even if it's heterosexual interactions. There's this my daughter goes to middle school, and there's this 6th and 7th grader that are dating. They look like they married the way that they interact. I mean, the way that they walk to school, because they don't have no car, but they walk to school holding hands. They match every day. They sitting on the bench, she in his lap, and I'm
Oh,
like,
that should be my daughter.
and I'm telling, and I told my children, I said, if I ever see that, I'm gonna boom you with my car. I'm not gonna hit you. It's a boom, just to let you know, But it's
Tell
like
the police she hit me. She
right,
boomed me.
right. I boomed you. We are naive to believe that just because they're not teaching it. No, they should. Yes, go ahead and teach it. That's fine. And open that, and I will have that conversation with my child at home. And I feel like even when it comes to African American history, certain things in history, they say the Indians, Columbus discovered the Indians. That's a conversation in my home. They're not Indians,
Sure
they're
is.
Native Americans. They are native to America. I hear what your teacher said, and you answer the question on the test, Indian, but that's not the truth. So as parents, we need to take more, be more aware of what's being taught, and because a lot of parents don't know what their child is learning,
Right.
and then to have those conversations at home, I have no problem with it.
I'm like I said, my kids will not until a certain age. I mean, at this point, it's kind of like sex education is on the Disney Channel, but certain classes, my kids have the option to be in, and they have the option not to be in. If you're majoring in history and you have an issue with history being taught, you might not want to be in history.
So you don't think it's the government's job? So I want to make sure, because as far as we're talking about democracy, you think that a government oversteps their boundaries when they say this subject matter should not be taught at all?
I think the government oversteps its boundaries on a lot of stuff.
I think as Black people,
You keep saying you're pro-democracy, but the more you talk, you sound like you want a dictator.
I think as Black people,
The right one.
and I hate to be the one to say this, but we cherry pick because we want African American history to be taught, but we don't want this to be taught. It's
Right.
like you
And that's
can't
what
censor our history,
that's what Leroy
But if
was
that's the
saying.
case, everybody's cherry picking.
Yeah,
but
I
this,
wish Leroy was still
and I
here, because
feel
that's
like,
exactly what he
and I
said.
feel like
He's still here.
we should teach just all the way across the board, and
The whole of it.
the whole of it. And I feel like there was a time, we all noticed, that they didn't teach anything about African American history.
I'm gonna agree with
And
that.
then
Okay.
they introduced it, and there were people, no, they didn't want that in certain schools. So it just needs to. This is history. This is life. This is where we are, and this is what it is.
And
So
I'm gonna
I have
agree with
no
that.
issue.
I
I
think
can agree with that. As like Leroy said, as things change, yes, they should include that information. So, but yeah, they just can't cherry pick what they add. Like they want to add transgenderism, but they won't add BLM stuff. They'll add 1 + 1 = 3, just an example, but they won't add 5 + 7 to the 16th degree isn't a number type of thing.
This
Like
said 1 + 1 = 3. We don't want that in the books because that is not right.
but I think also
synergy, people.
I think also we got to recognize that I think they call it a democracy, but we actually live in a republic, right? Because it says "into the republic for which it stands," right? There is a republic, right? And by
Yep.
definition, we do actually live in the public, republic, but it's ran as a democracy, right?
Right.
And I think sometimes we confuse that, but I think also to the point of when we talk about, because again, everything that we're talking about are subjective choices by individuals, right? And because there is no moral standard to which we abide by, then who can define what a decent choice is?
Correct. Or a
How do
right
you
choice.
define
Or the right choice. I should have
right,
put the
right,
right choice instead of
right,
a
right,
decent choice. Thank
right,
you.
right, right? How do you define
I'll
what
edit that.
the right choice or the decent choice is if there is no moral standard to actually measure it by? You know what I'm saying?
A-
And if we're doing it just based off of our feelings, then everything is going to be subjective. And I think that, again, what Gerard was mentioning, like that's like kind of like the big problem that we run into, is that everybody has their subjective opinion about everything. And because there's this subjective opinion, and then it's really kind of ran based off of how the majority feels, then we switch and choose what we allow and what we don't allow, right?
a-
I think what's right is what I think, because we saying what is wrong and what is right. What is right is what it is. I feel like when we start trying to say what is wrong and what is right based on morals, I feel like that's not where we are. You know, some people, we all know America is full of different beliefs, different cultures. It's a melting pot. So I think the right is just what it is.
But what is that though?
What it is. Whatever it is right now,
What
that's what need to be taught. No changes to what it is. We are just stick to what it is.
No,
Whether
right,
you
I'm
agree
gonna
with
say
it or
the
not.
I'm
right.
gonna
So
say the
what I'm
right choice. The right choice is that thing where he says my truth. No, it's just the truth. Don't give
Right.
me your truth. Give me the truth,
but
and that would be the right choice.
and Jesus asked the question, "What is truth?" Um, literally, did you like that? That was a preaching point, right? So listen. But in that moment, that is the heart, I think, of what's wrong. To the realist's point, because let's talk about what's right now. Right now, in the United States of America, in Florida specifically, they could kill me. Florida executed a man tonight. Literally tonight, we had an execution. I saw it on the news before I jumped
Y'all
on.
show did.
And
I wasn't a part of that.
literally 20 years from now, if the makeup of our state legislature changes and they say capital punishment is wrong, it does nothing for the man they killed tonight. Literally, if the majority says it's wrong in 20 years, it'll be wrong. His family won't be able to sue. He won't be able to be brought back from the dead. His life is over. That's the problem with a democracy as far as right, wrong, what I feel today. It's easy to say if we were talking about something as inconsequential as a parking ticket, whether it should be 20 bucks or 50 bucks. But there are some things that have a much higher price. It's literally costing people their lives. That's why you have to have some type of governor, some type of moral standard. And that's why in a lot of Muslim countries, they don't have dictators or democracies. They have a theocracy. Whatever their God is, that book makes the law, and we go by it. And I'm not saying we should be there, but I'm not saying it's not a bad idea, because as long as you and I are able to decide what's right based on a majority, it will always be like this.
But we do have that. What is um the Constitution? We do have a written rules that we go by, but I feel like what's right
Yeah, we're
is not,
supposed to go by.
when I say we go by what's right, it's not opinion based. It's whatever is right now. And I feel like we
you gotta unpack that, because I'm trying to understand what does that really mean?
it's
Right.
Like,
fluid. Okay, so we're all believers. We went from the law to grace. So the what was right was the what was right now. Jesus is not on the scene. That's the now. So you can, and that's what it is. Things change. So what is right now is what should be taught. Right now, rights for it is open rights. Right now, like our last conversation, a lot of people are going to polygamy and polyandry. That's the now. We can't escape the now.
And you saying that because it's the now, that's what makes it right.
No, because I'm saying that that's what is the right thing to be teaching in
Oh, you
our
talking about
schools.
teaching. Oh, you talking about teaching.
Right,
Oh,
in our schools, we should be
oh, okay. You
teaching the
talking
now.
teaching, teacher. Okay, okay. You
You know,
said
of course, still with the history, but I don't think that we should cancel out the now, because I think that's a disservice to everybody. I mean, you got to
That sounds
compare the
like though. That
situation.
sounds like that sounds like we should be teaching kids what to think and versus teaching them how to think.
No, I think like okay, because I can only talk about my household. The now is there are men. I mean, the other day, literally, we saw two very clear. They were men. They were born men. They grew their hair out. They had on attire of a woman. One of them still even had a beard. That's the now. And that's a conversation that I'm gonna have with my children. We're gonna talk about that. And it's not I'm teaching you what to think. I'm let's talk about it.
I'm making you aware of the situation.
Right. Though, let's talk, because one of my daughters, yeah, she said, "Is that a man?" And it's like, yes, it is. And so I don't feel like we're teaching them what to think, but we're having those conversations.
Uh-huh.
I don't care what the age is. Like we had, because I used to be a believer. I used to be a person that felt like, no, I'm not gonna about homosexuality with my children. I'm gonna wait till they get older. No, but their eyes are not waiting till they get older.
Mm-hmm.
They're seeing this. So let's talk about it.
And I mean, and in the way of the concept of government, democracy, I think people, again, going back to the selfishness of people, they're thinking about the now as opposed to, and this is, I get history and that stuff, like teaching the now, but when it comes to governmental stuff, like you have to think about 10 years from now. You can't think about now. And people are only thinking about themselves. People are like, well, I'm making $700 million, so I'm going to get this tax break, but they're not thinking about the future and what it holds. For example, the country voted to pay taxes. Like they literally voted to pay taxes. Had they been thinking about the future, they would have put a limit on how long we'll pay taxes and the max taxes we can pay. But now we're caught in this perpetual wheel of paying taxes, and there's nothing. Well, there's something we can do about it. We can vote it away, but we're not going to. They're not going to introduce that for us to do. So I think I think we are very selfish because we're only thinking about what works for us, what we need, as opposed to what the whole needs.
yeah,
But
but
I
if you
think
put
that's
it
on both sides of the pay spectrum.
right, that's what I
Low
was
class and low class, middle and high.
No,
All of them are selfish because
right.
right.
people are getting tax refunds and they cash all to the bank. They're trying to get as much as they can. So I think that is across the board about being
Right.
selfish when it comes to taxes. And I am very not very. Ooh, I am semi-Republican in that belief. I believe get your game up, figure it out. Make more money and you'll get the tax break. Do I get the tax break
learn
that
the
they get?
tax laws.
I don't know. I don't get it because I'm not in that tax bracket. But you best believe I'm working for it. Like, and I'm gonna take every break they give me, every break I can find, every loophole. I'm be up in
Even
it
even as a middle class, lower class, there's still tax options that you can take. You just have to learn
that I
them.
that I do take.
But I'm not saying indirectly related to taxes. I mean, as a whole, voting. We're not voting for the betterment of everybody. We're voting for the betterment of ourselves. We're
Right.
But
picking
but
things
but
for the betterment of
but
ourselves. And
but
sure, to some regard, we should, but you have to think about future generations. Like you have to think about what's coming next. Like, what does this decision, what is me voting for Boobop and his ideals? How is that going to affect the next 4 years?
but
Like,
Brandy, let me ask you this, because that's been a recurring theme in your commentary tonight. That's scary because you know what that sounds like to me. My dad had 5 boys. He gets off of work and he says, "What do you want to eat?" Well, Harry wants Checkers. Jermaine wants Burger King.
got it.
Torrance wants Chick-fil-A. Willie wants Popeyes, and Gerard wants Subway. My dad gets off of work. To please everyone, he would have to literally go to 5 different restaurants. Or he could say, one, we're all going to the same place. That's
I'm not saying
dictatorship.
you have to please everyone, though.
Hold on, wait.
We'll never do that.
We're all going to Popeyes. That's dictatorship. You don't have an option. Or he would say, look, we're going to Popeyes or we want Burger King. What you want? Go down the line and come up with a majority. When you say we're voting for what pleases us and that's the way it goes, it's not a representation of the total. You could never have a country and represent the total because we just don't have the option to do and have laws and ways that make everyone happy.
Yeah.
Someone is going to have to get the short end of the stick, and I don't think that can ever be fixed.
But I'm not saying you have to make everybody happy. Again, there's no way you're going to make everyone happy. As it relates to the selfishness of things, you have these 5 boys, A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D, and E, right? We're going to Popeyes because, okay, Dad says we're going to Popeyes. A is happy. A want Popeyes. B says, I'm not going to pick Subway because I don't like D. I'm going to go with A. Like he said, pick one. I don't, and they're selfish. Forget that Popeyes is right next door and it's convenient for Daddy. They're picking because I don't like this one or I like this one or to that respect. That's what I'm saying the selfishness of it is.
But that's the nature of man, though.
I think that
Right,
argument has too many holes because regardless of whether it's convenient for Daddy went there because it was convenient for him. So wouldn't that be selfish of him not to think about what was convenient for the kids?
No, kids don't get a choice. No,
Right. I think this
they're not
bad.
18 yet. They don't get a vote.
Example with the parenting because you don't. Yeah, I mean that's a lot going on, but I feel like that's the nature of people, and that's not going to change. Everybody, the more time goes on, the more selfish people become. The less community minded you are, and I mean even the Bible speaks of that. But I think that to everybody votes for what they want, for what they believe, for what they feel will be the easiest for them. And even if they are looking in the future, and if I pick this guy, the next 4 years, this will be better for me. Forget the rest of the people. I mean, everybody is doing that. That's in everything you do in life.
Yeah, everything.
It's always what's best for me. I'm gonna switch into this lane. I don't care that this car is coming fast because this is what I want to do. You know, that's just all day, every day.
Brandy, so I just got an epiphany about what you said when Ashley was talking. So you're saying that people who use their vote for popularity or just to keep someone else from getting something, even though they don't have anything specific that they want, you're saying that those people may not deserve a vote. So you're saying voting shouldn't be a right, it should be a privilege that you qualify for.
I'm saying
because if you're
probably people probably should. Okay, so people probably should qualify to be voted.
So you don't like democracy.
To vote. However,
right.
What happened? What he said?
So you don't like democracy.
But you do qualify to vote when you turn 18.
I'm saying,
but you disqualify when you become a felon.
There should be like a psychological scale for people to be allowed to vote. However, do you have to think about who's creating that psychological scale?
Right.
So it's
Brandy, do you hear what you're saying?
It's never going to be successful.
You're saying that because you're smart. So you're saying that because you're smart. But you're saying for the grandma who goes in the voting booth and she asks the night of election or before, hey, baby, who are the Democrats running? She don't know who's running, what they stand for. She ain't heard the speech, but she just going to vote because they're Democrat, and she's always done that. You think that that's wrong, that she shouldn't have the right to do that?
I'm not saying she shouldn't have a right to vote.
No.
Like Leroy said, when you turn 8. Say again?
Not vote. Vote like that. She should not have the right to make an uninformed decision. You're saying that a voter should make an informed decision about.
Is voting a legal thing? Is voting a legal situation?
Yeah, well, it has legal consequences.
So when you sign a contract, when you sign a contract for anything, for real estate, for law, you have to be informed, right? They can't make you sign something without allowing you to get the information. So yes, people should be voting based on informed decisions. You shouldn't just be like, "Oh, I'm Democrat down the line because I'm a Democrat." Even though this Democrat just said they're going to kill you and take away your Medicaid or whatever the case may be, which I think
You are a dictator, Brandy.
thank you. Let my children know. So telling people that they should be informed before they make a decision makes me a dictator. I'll take it.
No, I think that I feel like people aren't informed before they vote, or they had the option to be informed. I feel like the information was out there. They could have read and whatever.
And
Did
how
I say
he's
it out
saying
loud?
it, she didn't take that option. So no, ma'am, sit home.
Yeah, I think.
But if they bet, so let me ask you this, because if we speak into the selfish part, and they're taking that vote to say, hey, the reason why I'm voting this way because here I'm not just helping myself, I'm helping the cause of other people. How is that selfish?
I'm sorry,
When it's
repeat that
not
question.
when it's not necessarily about me. It's like I vote Democrat. They always have the best interests of my people, whether I'm informed or not. It seems like from what I get from them, it benefits me. I ain't got to know all these policies and stuff. I just know that when I vote this way, I tend to kind of have benefits, and then I'm not even just thinking about me. I'm thinking about swaying the leadership in the way that I think is best fit for my people.
Okay, so I'm gonna say that's a two-parter. One, you just admitted that that person's being selfish because when somebody I vote this person in, my situation is better, and that's cool. Um, I would say that that is an informed decision. That's just like That's just like using statistics. Um, like so, marriage is 95% success rate. Marriage is 85% success rate in 2000. And marriage is a 65%. You see the stats saying that marriage is going down. You're using an informed information to make the decision. He's saying this lady's like, who's the Democrats? I'm just going to vote for the Democrats. She didn't say because I have been a Democrat all these years and the Democrats have worked for me. That she's saying I'm just not voting for Republicans because I don't like them. That's how I took that.
Yeah, I think though, if we were to start that to make people qualify for a vote, I think that's scary because one, if it just not long ago in this country, 30, 40, 50 years ago, literally they said things like that to black people.
Mm-hmm.
Just yeah, you don't want to sit in the back of a bus, but do you know how taxes work? Do you know how these things work? And a lot of black people, because their limited experience, did not know the weightier issues that people voted on, but they did know I don't like going to these nasty bathrooms when I go to the Publix. So I think that if we start the scale of I'm sorry, Publix ain't never had nasty bathrooms. But if we start the scale with qualified to vote based on knowledge, and I'm not a racist, but my fear is what happens. Let me. Do you know how many black people don't know? And let me not say black people. How many people don't know how to read a law because it's not written in normal English. If we had to test you to see if you want, okay, we're gonna have a couple workshops in the community, and we're gonna only allow you to vote on this if you go to the workshops and you do this little test to prove to us that you know the subject matter about what we're voting on. Um, but people do that because Mama then was a demi, just like people do that because Dad was a absolutely. But I think that if we do that, that they could hide so much from us that none of us would be able to vote.
Okay,
I
I'm gonna go ahead, Ash.
I think that no, go ahead.
So so
That was good
I'm gonna
acting. I
say,
I looked too to see if what she threw was over there.
no, I'm not did it come this way. So my thing is
Oh, got it.
those people who but then you say it. Those people who made that decision because they don't like dirty bathrooms, right? That's an informed decision. They're aware of the fact that these bathrooms are dirty and the other bathrooms are clean. if I vote this way, then I'll have clean bathrooms. They're not saying, which one of these say bathroom? I'm voting for whichever one says bathroom. And I'm not saying, let me say this. I'm not saying we should go to qualifying people to vote. Again, because just like standardized testing, who's making these questions?
You think though that
Who are
the
they
voters
trying
should
to get to answer these questions a certain kind of way, and who are they going to benefit? Like the SATs used to be to help white kids, like it was geared for white kids, not black kids, to pass.
So on the point of to the topic of what you mentioned about should we 86 democracy and stuff like that, what are the solutions that would make it better? Right, I got one was making an informed decision, making sure that everybody
Right.
understands is making an informed decision. That would be point number one, making sure that they're understanding who they're voting for, what they stand for, and then that's number one, voting that way on a local level. And then what else would make it better? If we're assuming that that's going to make it better.
Can I say something to point number one real quick? I remember watching something on I think it was 2020, so I went to Google it. It says recent poll have shown only a fifth of Americans can locate the United States on a map. If you have to qualify to vote, you're in trouble. We're in trouble. Because in that same episode, it talked about they a large percentage didn't know what continent we even live on. When you asked them, they couldn't even say North America.
Cheers.
So if you have to qualify by knowing
Bravo, Ash.
things about legislation, we're in trouble.
Bravo. That's a great point.
And that's why I'm saying we should not have to do that. However, to what Leroy's question was, getting more people, I think another solution would be having more representatives for the state, not just two people.
So you're saying the ones that do know what's going on, we need to bump them up into representatives so that we'll have
all seven of them, yes. And also what will help is if you had terms in office.
They do got term
limits.
Not
term
senators.
Limits.
Term limits.
The term is 3 years or 2 years or whatever the case may be.
Right, but you mean term limits.
However, they can run over and over and over and over and over again.
They need that in the church.
You mean the amount of times that they can run?
Right.
Okay.
They need that in the church too.
Who?
You can only be the deacon or the pastor for so long, and at this age, you got to sit down, bro.
Right, because they're still on
most organized churches do have that. The AME church retires you at 75, whether you're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, or you're a dementia patient. At 75, you got to go home.
I know a church will let you ride all the way out.
Anyway, so back to democracy. I think that would
God will make your teeth fall out one day.
Because you have people that
not mine, Ricochet.
That have
Ricochet.
There should be limits on how long you can sit in office. Like some people, like Mitch Romney, like he has.
No. You I think that statement is confusing. There should be a limited amount of times that you could run for office.
Like presidency terms. Like terms. Like the
term limits.
You only have 2 terms, and then you're out. Somebody else has to come in.
Okay.
Mitch Romney, like he's still in this. He's what, 167 years old? That's how old he looks.
Mitt Romney.
I don't know how old he is. Or Lindsey Graham, or whoever the freak these people are. They're still in this old school mindset of when we had sharecropping and all this stuff's going on, and they're not conforming or not adjusting to how the world is changing.
But if the people like them and the people vote for them, then what you do is you strip away what the people want. Because now you're telling the people.
So the presidency shouldn't have a term then, shouldn't have a limit, because you're stripping away what the people want.
Brandy, you are a dictator. Because what you're saying all night is this is a better way, and we should have people.
Click the link.
We
Take
should
them.
have people working towards what I feel is better. But to Leroy's point, you feel that's better. I like the fact that Nancy Pelosi, I can barely understand what she's saying. She's so old. I love her when she has a little brooch on. I like looking at cute little Nancy, and I want to use my vote to have Nancy on TV. That's my right as an American.
Right. So
But I
if you
think-
okay, so make that across the board. The presidency has limits.
But that's because we don't want a king.
Right, but
Is
wait a
Nancy
minute,
not queen?
because
If you
No.
keep her in there,
Of her district, she is. I mean,
she's a
there's an
queen.
argument. There's an argument to say that Nancy Pelosi, her district is her fingerprint.
It's a difference between being the person who people like within your district, right, and being the person who people want to be dictator for the entire country.
Right,
There's-
because Eric Mays, his people in the first ward love him in Detroit.
Yeah.
I
And
love him in Florida.
yeah, and literally,
he should run for president.
He
I
got my
posted that
vote.
today. I posted that he should run for president because him and Donald Trump in a debate would be the best television
Oh my
we've ever
gosh.
seen. But literally, I think that's
Bloviate.
I don't like adjectives. Don't use adjectives.
But Leroy, are you familiar with Eric Mays yet?
Yeah, from over there in Flint,
Flint.
right?
Yeah, but literally, I think though but that's the greatest part of
I don't
democracy.
like him like that.
What?
Yeah, I
They
don't
ever
like.
hit
Brand
whip so
cut his feet out.
fast.
I
Brand
don't
cut
like.
him
I
off.
don't really like. I think that
So you're a dictator too.
Oh, let me say this. It's not that
Welcome.
I don't. It's not that I don't like him. I don't appreciate his delivery.
Oh, I
Right,
love
a lot of times.
Oh, you want to be cavalier.
I think a lot of times when we talk about, you know what I'm saying, like just decency and how you just treat people as a human being, right? There are certain things that should be said, and there are certain things that I believe that should not be said, just for the decency of the respect of one another, right? And I think when you cross that line of disrespecting another person, you know what I'm saying, I don't personally believe that.
Would you say he's got to stop doing that?
I think that
You got to stop doing that.
yeah,
Stop.
I think that, you know, when he does that, and he minimizes people feelings, right? And I think that that's an issue, because nobody wants to be their feelings minimized. Nobody wants their, you know.
I call bacon strips on you.
I think that because I think that when you look at the whole videos, I feel like they're antagonizing him, like they're provoking him, because she's
I
like,
don't-
no, but she, even the comment, she's like, no one wants to hear you bloviate, like, and she said it with a laugh.
No
And
one
then
can
the other
blow
lady,
hot
you're
air.
gaslighting, or the other person, you're a TikToker. They're poking him, and then he does go on these rants of bloviation, but it's because they poked him, and I feel like
I think making a statement that may be true isn't necessarily a poke, right? Either, because if it's true, because I do believe sometimes there is a lot of extraness that he does that matches, you know, his TikTok followers, to kind of gain that following, because people do like controversy. People do they like that type of stuff, right?
But if that's
I
his
think they
personality,
like him
if
'cause
that's
he
the
was
way
standing
he is,
up for himself. And then she said, "Go below it, go look it up." They're doing that to get him.
Leroy, let me ask you this. As a coach for football of young men, I understand decorum and I understand decency, but you don't believe, as someone who I'm sure the guy we have tonight who's mellow is not the same guy, third quarter, team down by 6 or 7, and they've already given up. I'm sure that guy is a little more bloviating or fired up.
not the right.
Right.
Yeah, fired up. I think he's passionate about what he does. So I think that, I don't know who that was. So I think that it is a disservice to say, because he's more passionate than I would be, that he's not being decent.
Keep in mind, I would never spoke on his passion. I spoke on his delivery and insults. Now, those are two different things. I think, because I'm a passionate person. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying?
I can
I
concede
speak
that.
from a passionate place, and I know how to be passionate. I know there's a difference between being passionate about what you believe and actually insulting and antagonizing people. Those are two different things. So I'm not speaking on how passionate he is about what he believes, because I believe everybody I like to see passion, you know what I'm saying? But I think that there's a fine line between passion and you hiding behind your passion to insult somebody.
Can Ashley, can you put that ginger ale can up like you just did? That was
So so that's just like saying the way they treated the the girl who was going for Supreme Court justice. I'm sorry, I do not remember her name. Katanja.
brown. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
those people were insulting her. Those people were disrespecting her. Should they
Yeah,
have not been able to question her? Should
no,
they be removed from office?
I don't understand that. I'm trying to.
So you're saying you don't like the way what's his name?
I
The
see.
Eric
leader?
Mays.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause I think if they insulted her, that was unnecessary. So I'm not speaking to whether he should be in office or not, right? Because I'm not saying any of that. You
You're
know,
just saying he's not decent.
I'm saying that there are a lot of times where he says a lot of stuff that is I'm just like, dang dog, you ain't have to say that, dog.
So so
Like
should someone not decent be in office?
I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand that comment, because I'm trying to understand how that relate. How does my comment relate to him being in office?
No, I'm asking. I'm asking a question. I'm just asking a question. I'm not saying it
Okay,
relates
so
to that.
okay, so that question is separate from this guy
Right.
himself.
I ain't saying you're a racist, but you are Eric Masonist. Leroy is an Eric Masonist.
No, I think decent people should be in. I think decent people should be in office, man. I'm all for decent people being in office, but I'm saying how you
I think an indecent person.
how you manage that, how you represent yourself. I think character integrity is a big thing for me personally.
See, Leroy, now you're being a dictator. If my constituents are deplorable people and they like my rah rah and it works for them and I'm doing a job, they have the right by their majority to put me in office. What I'm learning on this call tonight
Hold
is
on, Gerard. I think hold on,
We've
time
already had that.
time out. I think people y'all misunderstanding. Everybody
Right.
misunderstanding what I'm saying. What I'm saying is whether I don't got a problem with him being in office, and I don't know how everybody keep talking about. Well, should he be in office?
no. I'm not talking about him
So,
because we moved on. Her
right,
question was, do you believe
decent people
that a
should.
person should be decent?
I do.
Decent is relevant
It
because if
is.
I,
Relative.
relative, what I said,
Relevant.
no, you could have texted me. Don't bloviate. Don't do that. Listen, so I agree that I'm not talking about Eric Mays. Brandy's question was, do you think you should be decent the whole office? When Larry Flint or these guys who were running, who were owners of smut magazines, that proved that a constituency, they determine who goes to office,
Right, but
not
hold on.
my opinion
I'm
of
not.
decency.
I thought the question was should decent people be in office? I do agree. Now, if she would have asked me a follow up question, should indecent people be in office? I would say if the people vote them in. So I'm
Okay,
not against. You know what I'm
gotcha.
saying? But
Your choice is decent, but you're okay.
my
Right,
preference is, if I had
right.
a preference, I would prefer the
I think we
decent
all
person
would.
to be
I
in
think we all
office
would.
I think
versus
I would
the
prefer.
decent person.
I don't think I would prefer that. I think I prefer the person that gets the job done, whether you're decent or indecent. As long as you're because he is getting the job done. It was back to Mays
That's
for
real.
his ward. Where no matter what how he's presenting it, the presentation of it, he's getting the job done. So I would prefer somebody that was getting it done over somebody that's just being cordial.
And
When I think of decent and indecent people, right, and because I want to make sure we lay a foundation of what that means, right? when I think of an indecent person can get the job done for their constituents, but still rob from the city, right? So though I might be getting the job done for my actual ward, I'm still taking advantage of other people. So and I'm still stealing money from, you know what I'm saying, from the city, from the county, and putting that in my pockets. And I'm aligning, I'm aligning all my friends up to get all the money and not giving other people the opportunity. I wouldn't want that person in office, because everything then, though you might be getting work done for your people, for your people, right? Then it begs the question, what about everybody else? And if you're saying screw everybody else, it's all about me, as long as I take care of my people,
That's
then
literally her name right now. I
right.
just want to say that.
You know what? You're right. Yeah.
Right, right.
On a wing and a prayer.
Yes. So in that case, when you say it like that, I mean, America's already had that. I mean, aka Trump.
Right. And that's what I'm trying to say. And people had a problem with that, right? That was a major problem that people had with Trump.
Some people had a problem with it,
Yeah.
but a lot of people after him did not, because a lot of politicians went to that style, went to that being raw, telling
Look at
people off, even
DeSantis.
in
Yeah.
Florida, right? Started telling people off and doing, a lot of people resonated with that,
Mhm.
and they were like,
Or
"This is
they saw that,
working."
or
Right?
they saw that it worked with people.
That's what I'm saying. This
That
is
might
what's
not be who they
working.
are.
And I can be who I am, and I can say and do what I want to do. And that didn't just go from politics. They start doing that in the church. I
Yeah.
can be me as a pastor. I can say what
Yep.
I want to say. Everybody can do, that thing went across the board.
Yeah. That's
Side note,
absolutely
I
true.
just want
That's
to
a
say
good point.
something. That dude over there preached some good sermons. I need y'all to go. You might want to put your Instagram up, Leroy.
Okay.
I don't
Thank you,
know.
Brandy.
That man.
Thank
And,
you.
Talking about
and then this
Leroy.
one right
Talking about
here,
Leroy. Talking
too,
about Leroy. The realist. Man, you had
and Papa
some
Doc.
man.
Yeah, Papa Doc be preaching too.
I ain't worried about him. I ain't talking
Hey,
about him. This ain't about him.
Leroy,
See,
let me say this. I
Brand,
said
Leroy.
Brand, Brand,
Sunday.
Eric Mason it because she only for her ward. She only
Right.
she only riding for
Right.
her
No,
ward.
Right.
I'm riding
Right.
because I watched
Right.
them. Bruh, you did.
I'm
You
on here
preach.
trying to
You
help
preach,
Question Time
sir.
Live, and she
I'll
Back
talking
to
about
the
the Jacksons.
back to the what? Back to the topic at hand. Anyway, go watch your sermons. Okay. So indecent, decent, whatever. Y'all were talking about how people are voting for the person that is, oh no, I'm gonna go back. Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a house. They've kicked off 2 people.
Yep.
Because they expelled 2 people because they went to a protest. They left one that did go to the protest also.
The white
And
one.
this is why I'm saying representatives are not representing the people, they're representing themselves. Because if they were representing the people as a whole, then they would see that these 2 representatives that they kicked off are for the people, are trying to help the people.
For the people that were protesting, because the ones that kicked them off, the people who voted for those folks and sent them to the legislator, probably agreed with them being kicked off.
But what?
When you said that they're against the people who were kicked off for protesting were protesting an issue that was true to their base. I'm sure that the base of those who did the kicking were satisfied that they kicked those black boys out of office.
But what about the white woman that was also there protesting that they did not kick off? So
Well, she's white. She's not the black men.
exactly. So they're not voting for the whole. They're voting select. They're picking and choosing how they want something to look or how they want something to work. And that's why I'm saying we need more people representing the majority.
So you know what it sounds like, Brandy?
I'm a dictator.
No. It doesn't sound like you're just a dictator. So Donald Trump put 3 justices on the Supreme Court and probably changed the makeup of the court for the next 20, 30 years. Mm-hmm. When Joe Biden became president, Democrats began to weigh heavily on him to change the number of Supreme Court justices and then just stack the court with more Democratic choices to take that power back from them. That sounds like what you're trying to do with the legislator. Not whether it's Democrat or Republican, but you feel like obviously this is not working. So let's get more
There's a
people at the
difference.
table.
It's different though. I'm not saying we need more Democrats in the Senate for Florida. I'm saying we need more people. Those
Do you
people
think it
are
would be
trying.
more people from the same two parties, or do you think we need to make room for people outside of the Republican and Democratic Party?
Well, let's throw it out there like this. Tasia and I were talking in church about this. We need to get rid of, I don't think there should be a Republican and Democratic Party. Like, that's the problem. Like, we're a gang. It's a gang mentality in America.
Wow.
Because you have, I'm on the left, I'm on the right, I'm an elephant, I'm a donkey. Like, are we serious? I'm the Bloods, I'm the Crips. Like, no. Let's like, for example, when I get my ballot, the presidential ballot in particular, they're only showing me the president, the candidates in my party. Like, I might not even want to vote for those people. Like, let me vote for who I want to vote for. That's why I'm probably just going to change my junk to independent and I'll vote.
Yeah, I was going to say there is a space for you, people like you. It's being
Right.
an independent.
But that space isn't, you don't hear that space being talked about, right?
Well, that's
Well,
It's
because
all about the East and the West.
well, at one point in time, it was when the Tea Party had came in, they started talking about that individual independent
Right.
Tea Party. But what tends to happen is the majority of Americans are either on the left or the right? So they're, and I think for me, I think what will work better is if we had more moderate representatives, right? That are able to look at both sides, because I think naturally Black people are really conservatives. If we are really being honest, Black people are really conservatives, right? We believe in a lot of conservative views, but we vote but they vote
Black Christians
not
are conservative.
I
not
think a majority of Black
no,
people.
not Black people, not just Christians.
Yeah, not
Black
just Christian.
people
I'm gonna go with I agree with the
are conservatives, but I
Yeah.
think that they vote Democrat because they believe that the social programs that are around to help them tends to benefit them. I think if I was a Republican running, I would tell the whole party, hey, we need to add more social programs, even because no matter what, if the Democrats get in office, they're gonna do it anyway. So what would be smart is to add those same social programs to what we believe. Then that way we would never be out of office because we would always win the Black vote, right?
That's not a conservative, though. That's not a conservative.
No, you missed what he said.
Yeah, you
He
missed
said
it.
we have conservative views, but we vote with those programs. So therefore we vote opposite to what we believe because we want the social programs that become available to not just Black people, but to the underserved, the lower class.
Right.
So he's saying if you take those programs and marry them with the conservative views, we would vote Republican.
Right.
Correct.
I agree with that. We will vote Republican.
Hands down.
Because he's saying even if the Democrats win, they're going to have those programs. So why not we just stay in power by offering more? Not all of them. You don't even have to have all of them. But if you start offering more, 1,000%, a lot of people will sway over to the Republican side. Because I'm borderline there anyway.
Right, because what they will be able to see is, okay, they actually do care about our issues, our problems, right? And I think that's why I led it with being moderate, right? If we had more moderates, because moderate is I'm in between, right? I can do conservative and I can have a type of liberal point of view as well. I can see both sides from, I can take a step back and look at both sides and be objective in that, right? And say, okay, even though I am conservative in this matter, not only am I supposed to just represent my constituents, but also my constituents need to understand that if we're going to get somewhere as a country, there needs to be a balance. So, let's look at, some different things that are on the other side that you're willing to say, okay, we can accept this, we can accept that, and add it to it. So that way there's a balance and we're looking out for the whole of America. And then I think that would change from, us being not as selfish, but less selfish, because we're looking at both sides versus just one side.
And you will vote the way you truly feel then at that point as well. And not just what serves you in the now, but really you'll vote more accurately.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into a dialogue about what a conservative is, but I think to diminish the conservative issue as it pertains to that versus a Democrat or a liberal, just the social programs, it's not really the reason I say it's a Black Christian thing and not just Black people.
He didn't say just, but I want to point that out. He didn't say just social programs.
Right. But the reason I think it's more Black Christians and it's Black people is because when the main thing that most Black people claim that they disagree with conservative or that they agree with conservatives on is abortion, same-sex marriage. And usually those two things that the Black Christians agree with the conservative on is a direct result of their religious belief. Because Black Christians, although we are Democrat, we don't believe in abortion. We don't believe in same-sex marriage. But outside of those, tell me what other things that Black people are conservative leaning.
Hold on. So because I know a lot of Black people that aren't Christians that don't believe in abortion, that don't believe in same-sex marriage. They're not Christian at all. So I know that is like that's what we hear within our contextual point of view, like, because that's what those are the kind of the circles we know a lot of believers and stuff like that. So when you started mentioning different things like what are some things that Black people I think would necessarily agree on, I think when it comes down to taxes, being able to have those tax breaks that the Republicans actually get and promote, I think Black people would benefit. A lot of Black people would benefit from that and would agree that, hey, if I'm making all this bread, you know what I'm saying, why should I have to, give more percentage of my money away just because
But that's not because they're Black though. That's because they're in a tax bracket and they want a tax break. I don't think that's race related.
No. But no, you said Republican. What are some issues that outside of those two things that Black people would actually like? So I'm pointing out the fact of outside of those two things, Black people, whether it's corporate business related or not, they would agree with that. They wouldn't have a problem with saying, hey, I want to keep the majority of share of my money. Everything should be equal across the board.
I don't want to hijack this question live, so I'll
You can go ahead, but I just want to say that if we were in that tax bracket, we would be fine with it.
right.
Also, if we knew how the taxing system worked, if we knew the loopholes within it, no matter what socioeconomic class we're in, if we knew those loopholes, we'd be fine with it. The problem is we don't know those loopholes.
Right.
But again, that's not the government's fault, because they are out there for people to learn about. It's up to us to educate ourselves and learn those things and not put that on other people to say, well, they know and we don't. It's like, well, we got access to the same information.
Right.
But I will say that once it does become common knowledge, it does seem to change. So like when it came to even credit repair, now that that's a mainstream topic and everybody, the guidelines are changing. And so I do feel like once people catch up, you do knock them back a step or two.
Mm-hmm.
And in particular, once a certain group catches up,
right? That's what
it's boom, bam, pow, back to the starting line.
Mm-hmm.
But you were gonna say something. You didn't want to hijack the jack.
Right. Yeah. Because when you think about so Black people were majority Republicans until John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy got Martin Luther King out of jail. Right. That's what began. Martin. If you go to Wikipedia right now and you look up Martin Luther King's father's political party, it was Republican, as was Martin Luther King's. So when they fought for the release of Martin Luther King, that's how the Dixiecrat, which literally is in between Republican Democrat, that's when it was born. I think that and this is me, I think that when you say we are conservative, black people outside of TMZ reports that Jamie Foxx was hospitalized after suffering a medical episode. Um, Prayers for Jamie Foxx. Um, yeah, I mean, it just came across my phone. I'm sorry. But I think that when you look at black people as a whole, we do believe in, because of our culture and our history. If I got a bowl of grits, you got a bowl of grits. If I got extra, you have. That's not a conservative viewpoint. A conservative viewpoint is you need to find out how to get your own grits. You know what I mean? So I think that the core of who we are, they call Barack Obama a democratic socialist. The core of who we are, sharing our wealth, sharing what we have. That's what the social programs are, not abusing it. No one wants people to abuse it. But I think that all of us are more inclined to be closer to liberals who enjoy freedoms and want a government that is there to help everyone. We don't want a smaller government. If the government is smaller, we're the most maligned group of people in the government. If the government gets smaller and we don't have regulations and we don't have things to regulate those in power, do you think those in power are going to look out for black people? No, we need those things. We need a lot of those democratic staples in order for us just to make it home safe at night. Because if conservatives had their way with smaller governments, not in your business, no investigations, deregulations, all these things, black people would always be on the bottom. I just want to say that for the
Which I
record.
say we need more people, but you call me a dictator. Anyway, so I would go back to say you said conservative viewpoint is get your own grits. I got mine.
That
And
is.
I would say that is very black community. Get yours because I got mine. We don't know how to work together. So you just proved that we are conservative, more conservative than we are liberal.
I
That's
I think that's
true.
true.
That is true. What she said
Very
is true. There's not people sitting there talking about let's plan on how we're gonna get you up and help you out, and let's do this in a community way.
Are you
Think
all
majority,
serious?
think
Not doing
majority,
that.
not the people you know.
Yeah, people
Uh,
not that people aren't doing that, and I keep going back to the church. You don't even see that in the black church. You don't even
now,
help the person you worshiping with. So
now,
you're
wait a
surely
minute
not
now.
helping
Wait,
other
wait,
people.
wait. But you know what? Come on now. Let's go back though. A couple generations before we start moving towards conservatism taught us that. When we start moving out in the suburbs, that's what taught us that. When we were in the ghettos and we lived together and it literally was life and death for a black man getting home, I didn't hate Leroy when I saw him. Even if I didn't know
We're talking
Leroy.
about the now.
No,
Right. You talking
but
about
That you talking about,
segregation
like I said,
versus
what is
desegregation.
right is what is now.
what
We're
I'm
talking about the
saying
now. We're not
is
talking about back then.
our community thrives even during COVID. Whenever we're at a disadvantage, we do come together and thrive by bringing everything to the pot and sharing it out. Black people do that.
When we're
Who?
at a disadvantage, I mean, but that's any group of people. They say the best way to bind Americans is to put us in war. That's the
Yeah.
if give us a common enemy, we're going to stick together. That's anything. So if our we thrive when we get together when we at a disadvantage, that's any situation. I could be arguing with my sister, but let somebody come, if somebody from the outside come in, we gonna bind together for that
Say
time.
that.
We're gonna get the job done.
And then we're
But
gonna go back to
that's
disliking each other.
so I feel like we can't say that that's the fabric of black people anymore,
Mhm.
because now a lot of people are, it's all about me, never about you.
And it's also, if we're talking about the black community post desegregation, it's also I want to be like them or liked by them and not my own.
See, that's the problem.
So
Conservatism taught us
it
that.
is the problem.
But we're
But
still,
that's
but
your
now
life. That's the now.
what is going on with you in this camera?
Right. Just leave it
I'm
one
getting
way.
Making me
sick.
dizzy.
Right, I'm getting sick over here. I feel, I feel like we are moving to the
I was
conservative
trying to find a
mindset.
charger to plug it up to.
we are fine. We are moving to the conservative mindset, and that is, I think that is a lot of black people these days.
That's
Oh,
black
I'm a
people.
1%. I need to charge. Hold on.
And
That's
then
oh, your
oh,
phone's
she
dying.
out already. And also, it's like you said, people. You said something about. Did you say a disadvantage or the in despair, or whatever the case may be? When have black people not? And I don't want to make this about race, but when have we not been at a disadvantage? Like we're still the underdogs, and we're still fighting each other to get a pat on our head or our shoulder or our back,
But
whatever the case may be.
only the wealthy ones aren't fighting together.
You said what?
But only the wealthy ones aren't fighting together.
Only the wealthy aren't fighting together. So you don't think
Cor-
the poor people aren't fighting together?
I'm about to
No,
say, because when we doing good, you on your own.
Get your grits.
no. That's what I'm saying. Only the wealthy aren't fighting together. Literally, I think the black people who are saying, "Oh, we're more the ones who are moving more conservative are the ones who are doing better because they've already disconnected from the community. Most black people do good. They not in the struggle with those who are struggling anymore. When you move out to the
And
suburbs
therein
and you
lies
move
the
your
problem.
kids to the different school, what is that?
That's what.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm tripping. Yeah, I think that it's I think that that's the problem. I mean, I'm a conservative Democrat.
Okay, so absent
He
that,
said I'm a
because
conservative Democrat.
you stupid. That man, he gonna stick with he a Democrat, but he's conservative. So, do you think that we should like Tej and I were talking about remove the political parties, or I guess you can't because it's a mentality now. But should there never have been a Republican versus Democrat type of thing, and it should have just been we the people?
What do you think that would change?
The gang mentality. I have to vote Republican because I'm a Republican, as opposed to I'm an individual.
But a lot of what I'm saying is a lot of Republican people who vote Republican vote because they like Republican views. So what I'm saying is
Right.
right. So what I'm saying in
So
the grand scheme of things, not having a Republican or Democrat party, what is that
it
going to?
wouldn't be Republican views. So people see these views as Republican views because they're Republican, not just I like this person's views. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
What I'm saying is even if we remove the title, the results will still be the same.
It might not, because people are not voting that way because they're Republican views, not just because they're views. They're like, I'm not voting because that's what the Republicans want, as opposed to, oh, that makes sense. I like that view, or I don't like that view. That doesn't make sense to me.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Now, yeah.
So
Mm,
but that goes back to your question about should we vote? I mean, what will make our democracy better?
right.
And not having party lines, and the fact they say a party line down the aisle, like your side of the aisle, like
Yeah, I think they did. I think they did a disservice to Americans because parties have switched. One time the Republican Party was a Democratic Party,
right.
and the Democratic Party was a Republican. So I think that they switched, but I do believe that uh them doing that has done a disservice to the actual country, right? Because if we're united, you can't say that we're united when you have two divided parties, right? Then
Right.
that doesn't make us united, right? It actually makes us separate, right? So um
And we aren't we the people, we're we over here, them over there, the people.
right, right.
So yeah. So I think that will make it better. And unfortunately, you can't do that anymore. I mean, I guess you can get rid of it, but it's going to be so far down the line that people are like, that
But
people
then
don't remember.
how would you do the representation then if we're not doing like, okay, Republican, versus like, how would you do the representation of those who represent the people inside of um at the actual at the actual Congress? How would you do the representation of Congress?
You represent the whole. It's not representing your party. You're representing the whole. And it's just like getting. It's
So
just
I
like
see what you're
getting
saying. I
the.
see what you're saying. So you wouldn't actually run from an actual party line. You'll say, "Hey, I'm this person in office. I believe in both all these points of views, and vote for me to be the best candidate, and I'll make sure that your views are." It's how do you get past the viewpoints?
You read what you sow, talking about camera angles.
It's just the right. It's just the. What do you mean? How do you get past the viewpoints? That's what they. This is what I. This is the platform I stand on.
What,
These are the
what,
platforms that I stand on.
what
This is. I
platform would
believe.
that be? What platform would that be?
I
Because if we,
believe donkeys should talk. I believe horses should date cows.
right,
That's what I believe.
so what I'm saying is we still run into the same thing, right? That I believe these particular things, somebody else believes these particular things. Now we just don't have a label. So now you just vote based off of, or you choose this person based off of whatever they believe. But only difference is they just don't have a party name attached to it.
Right, because that's where the party name is where the separation happens.
Oh no, it's the separation happens
And then
with the
also,
ideology.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say.
but also you can have this person that says, I also believe horses should date cows, and I also believe that donkeys should talk, but I also believe that lizards should lizard. So it's like, okay, I believe mostly what this person says, and I also agree with the extra step that they said.
What I'm saying is we
So
still
like
be divided though.
when you have your voting card, right? Instead of having instead of having just your affiliated party on it, have everybody. And the people with the two highest votes are the ones who go against each other for presidency, just for an example. As opposed to the Republicans get to vote for Republicans, the Democrats get to vote for Democrats, even though maybe the majority of the world likes two of the Democratic candidates. They don't get the option to say that. You vote for your party, they'll vote for their party, and that'll be that.
Right. What I'm saying is the end result would still be we would still be divided based off of viewpoints.
But it won't. You're always going to be divided because people are going to go with one person over the next.
Right. So
What I'm saying is right now people aren't going with one person over the next. They're going with one party over the next.
Based off the party views, though, is what I'm saying.
No, I'm saying based off of I'm not voting for Trump because he's Republican, not because he's stupid.
Right, but see,
right. But then when you say, well, then when you ask them, well, what is it that you don't like about Republicans? And they say, well, I don't like X, Y, and just because a person say I'm not voting for somebody just because they're Republican, that does not mean there's the absence of them having a reason why they don't vote Republican just because they're not Republican. Is well, I don't vote Republican because
because
X, Y,
what
and Z.
Republicans
I'm not
stand
voting
for.
Democrat because X, Y, and Z. Like it's a reason. So I'm saying is we can't say that. Let me not say we can't say. I don't think it's wise to say that that the reason why people say that they not voting Republican just because they're not Republican, unless they've communicated that I don't even know what Republicans believe. I'm just not voting for them.
But you have those people, is what I'm saying. And I feel like had there not been any kind of party affiliation,
that percentage of those who like think like, I don't think it makes that big of a difference in the macro on the macro level.
Okay. What I'm saying is,
can you guys hear me?
It's not having party affiliations. If there were never a party affiliation, you're going based off.
That was a real question. Can y'all hear me?
And not the party. Yes.
Yeah, I say
we're going based off the person and not the party. I feel like it's just like the Crips and the Bloods. I'm not associating with you because you wear red. Forget that person is your cousin. You wear red. And I think that's how America votes.
But
that's how a lot of America votes.
It's not that they just red, it's what the red represents. That's what I'm trying to say. Like when you look at Crips and Bloods, it's not just, oh, I don't like them because they wear a red flag. It's because of what the red represents to them. It's because of what the
which is the
blue
Crips.
represents. Which
Because they don't know the logic, the
oh, if
principles.
you must not have talked to a gang member.
I don't affiliate with gang members.
Right, that's what I'm
Oh,
trying
no,
to say.
sir.
That's what I'm trying to say. When you talk to a real gang member, oh, they know the history. They run it back down to the OG who started it,
Okay.
what all transpired. So what I'm
Now
saying
throw
is,
that on Democrats and Republicans.
I'm lost.
When you go back, you talk to a Democrat today or talk to a
What,
Republican today. They're not going to be like, oh, well, in
what,
1942, this.
well, hold on. Well,
They're
Brandon,
not
hold on.
doing that.
Well, hold on. Well, you said that the only reason why they don't like them is because they wear red, and I'm saying no, that's not the case. It's
That was
because
just an example. You digging. I'm just an example. I'm saying people are voting based off of the party affiliation.
and
Forget
what
the history because
right,
most people don't know the actual history of the
right,
parties.
and what, but it's what the party represents is what I keep saying.
And what I'm saying is forget that. If they don't know anything about what the party represents, which is the history, right? If they don't know anything about that,
Not the
they're
history,
voting.
it's the viewpoints, not just the history. Because remember, we
If
stated
they don't know what the view, okay, take a child for example. I watched a video on TikTok and the kid was like, "My dad called me a Democrat." She's 7 years old. She doesn't know what a Democrat is. All she knows is that her dad doesn't like Democrats, so she doesn't want to be a Democrat. If you gave her a paper right now, or if you asked her, who are you going with, the Republicans or the Democrats? She's gonna say Republicans. She knows nothing about nothing, but she's going with Republicans because she knows that word or that group is who she's supposed to be affiliated with.
so.
And that's why I'm saying a lot of people are voting.
I do have a question.
Go for it.
After she said, "My dad called me a Democrat," was the question asked to her, "Well, why does that bother you?" Because to assume that a lot of kids at this particular age, parents haven't educated them on these two different party lines. I just can't without that further information, then we just drawn a hypothesis. It's just
Well,
an
the mom
assumption.
did ask, why does that bother you? And she said,
Okay.
because I don't want to be a Democrat.
And
I'm
did
a
she say why?
Republican.
Did she say why? Why you don't want to be a Democrat?
I don't know if she asked her why.
Right.
But that's still why is that relevant?
Well, I think because if
She's 7. You think
right,
her parents are teaching her why not to be why not to be a Democrat? Because we don't like them. Why don't we like black people? Because they're nasty. Even if it's not true.
Right.
Like,
but they still being taught it though.
I want to say, can I say this?
I know because I grew up, you know what I'm saying? I'm in Oviedo, so it's y'all know what it is. And
you're Oviedo mosquito, my boy.
I remember being in school when I was young, like middle school, you know what I'm saying? Even going in the 5th grade when they started talking about these particular things. Some of these kids understood what it meant to be a Republican. Now I ain't know what they was talking about until I got.
So they said because we get tax breaks, because they believe in not having abortions. They said that stuff.
Well,
they were saying.
Abortion wasn't a big thing in the early 80s like that. But
they were talking about taxes.
They wasn't necessarily. They was talking about money and how they got more, how they could have more money by being a Republican. That was the main thing that I actually heard, like being able to have more money, and that the Democrats want everything to be their actual way and they want to give out money. So they did say so. I did hear one of the first times I heard the word socialist was from a 5th grade kid.
Wow. And they researched that, or somebody was told that.
What I'm saying is whether they researched it or somebody was told it, either way they learned it. So how they got the information is irrelevant to the fact that they got the information.
Right.
I want to say something.
Go ahead.
I think that although it burns my grits to have to say this for the 3rd time or 4th time tonight, I agree with Leroy.
Why? Why does that burn your grits? Not why do you agree with Leroy, but why does it have to burn your grits, man?
I don't know.
Add some water.
They're sticking to the. you never add water to burnt grits. You change pots. If you add water to burnt rice or grits, all the burnt from the bottom raises up. That's why the whole thing
Well,
tastes.
had you added water before the grits burnt, you'd be fine or turned them off. Go ahead. Ask your
But
question. Say what you're going to say.
so listen. Um, I think that there is something we do pass on what our political views and things to children. They learn them, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they learn them based upon what we say. Ashley is very hands on. And when I asked her the question the other day, I thought about um, teaching children how to think versus what to think. I asked her that question earlier, and I've been lucky to see her interact with her children.
Yeah,
And
that's
and
like,
and this is not a punch to Ashley because I think it is good. Ashley does teach her children what to think in things that are tried and true and things that make sense. And a lot of people have a problem with that, but we do pass those things on. If I'm a wealthy individual and I'm conservative, I am going to teach my children will hear me say negative things about Joe Biden signing another relief package for those who make under $40,000 a year. He may hear that at 6 or 7 or 8. And even if he hears the word Democrat with a negative connotation, even if he doesn't understand what their viewpoints are, if he knows enough based on his family and his culture that it's negative, that is enough to make his vote valid even at 18. Even at 18, if he goes in and he knows nothing about the issues of the day, but he knows Democrats are bad for us. I don't have to know X, Y, and Z. But if I just know they're bad for us because my dad left me all this money and he always, whatever it is, that is enough to make an informed decision on your vote for you. I had an uncle who was in the military, retired from the Air Force. And when George Bush was running in 2000, my whole family fell out because he was the first person in our family who verbally admitted that he was voting for a Republican. And he looked at all his brothers, his nieces, his nephews, and his family. He said, you know what? He said, Bill Clinton was good for my pockets then. George Bush is good for my pockets now. He didn't know
Right.
he didn't know the ins and out of George Bush as a candidate, but he did know that a Republican was going to help a wealthy person remain wealthy, and
And this
that
is
was
what
enough.
I'm saying. If there were no party affiliations, you're voting because that person's views at that time is what works for you, not because that person is a Republican. I feel like the labels of Republican, just like the labels of race, they encourage a certain behavior, a certain thought, a certain action. I'm not
But
saying, I'm sorry. Was somebody saying something? Was
for
that just
me,
me? Was that crazy?
no, I think that that's in everything though.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's in everything across the board. We're going to teach what we believe as parents, and then we're going to govern ourselves and what's best for us at the time. So I feel like that, because I think the argument is, oh, I'm voting Republican because my dad's a Republican. My mom did that. I remember when I went to select Democrat or Republican, she's like, "No, you're a Democrat." That wasn't even a choice, and I didn't know anything. But I feel like that's it, you're a Christian because that's what we do in this house. You're a Muslim because that's what we do in this house. Like that, you always pass down what you are, or you try to. Nowadays people are more open to letting you choose and things like that. But the majority, you're going to hear conversations that will, because somebody said the best way to really know somebody is to live with them, because you can't hide everything all 24/7. So you're
Right.
going to hear the truth of that person, and that's going to change how you look at things.
And that's what I'm saying. And I agree that it happens. But the question was, um, how do I feel our democracy can be bettered? And I said by not having separate party affiliations because it creates a gang mentality. I'm not saying you
Can,
can't vote for someone based off of their views. I'm not saying that you can't do this, that, and the third. Because a lot
can
of
I
people
ask
are
you a
like, "Oh,
question?
you're flip flopping." I'm sorry. I actually, I should have shut up. I'm sorry, Tasha. You were gonna say something. You did.
No, I was just saying because y'all were on the topic of children. Me personally, and I don't have kids or anything, but whenever that time comes, I want to teach about all of it and let them choose who they want to, associate with. That's them. Because when they turn 18, that's their decision. It's no longer mine. I can't make that choice for them. So they
Right, and teaching them that you tell them. So, well, how I would think it's done is you're like, okay, so you want a candidate, you want to pick someone that works best for you, for your situation, which is selfish. And I'm not saying we aren't selfish. I'm just saying, are we too selfish? You want to pick someone that is based on what works for you, right? Not, well, the Republicans think this, the Democrats think this. Don't throw that in there. Just say, go with, if this person gives you a tax break and that's what you need, then vote for whoever that person is. Don't
But
vote Republican
But
because
I
we're
think that you
Republican.
have to have those titles because that I think that's needed in everything. And I keep going back to beliefs as far as Christianity versus whatever. If you know that this church is the AME church, you know what they believe in. Like that's like a blanket things. So if you know this person's Republican, you kind of know where their head is because you can't go over every issue for that person every 4 years, and
right.
they have to go over everything that they believe.
You
If you
wouldn't want that.
you because you're saying vote based on the person.
You wouldn't want them to go
No,
over what that person
you can't do
believes.
that. That's a
It's
lot
only
of.
every 4
And you
years.
need to be running. You need to start campaigning about 10 years in advance before it's time to be
They
vote for
probably
them.
should.
But I
But
think that you have to know that person really inside and out. But if you send Republican, then I know a basis of where your starting points are. Democrat, okay, I know your starting points. Now you can give me you can go a little deeper on certain issues.
I,
If I'm walking into a Muslim church, I know the basis of where I'm starting at. I think it's
Mhm.
just a foundation starter.
I was going to say something very similar. I think that that political parties are a baseline because
Yeah.
every 4 years they have their platform and they say these are the main issues. These aren't the only issues, but these are the main issues, and that's what their base rallies around. And I think not only does their base rally around that, but even your particular congressperson may not vote the way you believe about every single issue, but you have to look at it. It eating the meat, spit out the bones, the sum of the whole part. I get more of what I want with this guy or girl than I do with the other guy or girl. So I think that that's why it's important to have those groups to know what side you're leaning on. Because if you had to go into a ballot box and there was not a Democrat or Republican, it was just a name, and I did not remember every issue that you and I agree or disagree on, I would be choosing you by something else that would be superficial. Maybe he's taller. Maybe he's more handsome. Maybe he's a better speaker. Then it becomes like a high school student government association popularity contest because there's really not any substantial things
Prom
like,
king and queen.
huh?
Prom king and queen.
Yeah, prom king and prom queen. There's really not a substantial reason for why you're running because I don't know you like that. You know what I mean? Bless you. Consume tight. Salute.
I cough, excuse me.
Yeah, but so I think you almost have to. Now I do believe that the two-party system is broken. I do believe that because there's some races even now that are nonpartisan. When you run for sheriff in Seminole County, you don't run as Republican or Democrat, but we all know that he's Republican because of who's hosting his fundraisers running up to the the actual election because they want you to feel like your sheriff, the person who's arresting people, is
Impartial.
impartial. So I think even in those races, getting rid of the titles doesn't fix it because judges, they are nonpartisan races. You will never see a R or a D in front of the judges because they're supposed to be impartial. But let me ask you this: Do you how many judges do you think in Seminole County are Democrat? Very few, if any at all.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I don't know if getting rid of the names will necessarily fix the evil that you've identified, but I do believe that you
Right,
have
right.
identified an evil that needs to be dealt with. Voters need to be more educated, and I think that that's something that the school system, churches, and community leaders should take responsibility in. It's not the government's job. We
And
should educate voters.
that's what that was the point I was going to make. If you get rid of the party affiliations, and you mentioned, and I don't remember all of their platforms, you're going to remember the main ones that you connected with.
Right.
You may
Yep.
not remember them all, but you remember the main ones, and you will remember who those main ones are associated with. And it's going to make you pay more attention to what's going on, as opposed to, like, you go in a box, you read these amendments, and you've never researched them, but you're voting yes and no and yes on stuff that you haven't even researched. But it's going to make you, I would think, it will make people do more research on the parties, as on the people, as opposed to just voting based on party knowledge.
So your question, are Americans too selfish to make the best choice? Could also be, are Americans educated enough to make the
Well,
best choice?
Ashley already answered that question. The answer is no. 1/5 of them get to vote, and I'm a part of that 1/5 because I know exactly
Where it
where we are.
is. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it's amazing to me, and I think we discussed this before, something similar to this before, because it's amazing to me how many people you'll ask them who's the vice president, and they're lost there. Let alone the Speaker of the House, Secretary of the State, Secretary of Defense. They are completely lost, and I always said that's weird. And folks used to say to me the same thing in high school because I knew who my principal was, the assistant principals, the deans, because I've always been even in
In their
churches.
offices.
Right. I always want to know who the presiding bishop was, the assistant, the deacons, this, that, and other. That I, on my job, CEO, I just have always been like that. But a lot of people are oblivious to the people who are important to their life, completely oblivious.
So that's
Can I
just
say this?
like,
It's a little off the topic, but I
but
believe when. Okay, go ahead, Brandy. Sorry.
on topic. Remember what you're going to say, but on topic. Then should the president be vetted before he or she runs? Because Trump said he was going to go talk to the president of Puerto Rico.
Right. Right.
Like,
And I
He's
want
the
to
he's a
say
one
part of
fish
this.
that
that can't point
for
And I
out
want to
yes.
say
kids
this.
that don't know.
I won't mention her name because you may know her. I was married to a veteran, and you may know her. I remember, and this may have been a warning sign. I remember she signed up in the military, and we were having a conversation, and she didn't know who the vice president was. And I said, "You signed up to potentially die on a battlefield for a country, and you don't know who the number two person in charge is?" That blew my mind. That a soldier, you would think that they would teach that in basic training. Like you
You would
should
think that would be a
know,
question on the test.
But
right?
I think
Hold on, Leroy. Ashley, you wanted to say something before you forget?
no, I was gonna say to Black to Papa Doc's point of he said he just remembers things and he was very interested in who was leadership and he does that with the churches. I want to say that how God talks about he makes us in his image. I really feel like that's the part of God that you received. But
Oh,
anyway, that's it.
oh, oh.
You're saying the realist, right?
But what I was saying was when I think of soldiers and I think them
In the
coming
army of
to
the Lord.
fight and and die for the actual country, I don't think it's really relevant to know whether who the vice president is, right?
Are you?
Because I'm going to tell you why. Because if I'm saying, hey, I'm willing to die for the country, it's bigger than just who the vice president is. It's bigger than just who the president is, right? If I have a understanding that I'm going to fight for the actual people, and that is the drive behind who I'm fighting for. I don't gotta know who the vice president is. That's irrelevant to why I'm actually going to fight, right? It be you understand, and that's my specific point of view when it comes down
I
to that.
mean, and then also, don't you want to get rid of the dummies? I mean, survival of the fittest, you know?
Because the smart people, they're somewhere in a control room somewhere telling you where to get bombed at.
Right. Because you don't
I,
know who's running the country you're fighting for.
I have an errand to run, so I hate to go, but I have
Oh
to.
no, that's fine because we need to get up off this thing anyway.
I enjoyed you all though.
Yeah.
Especially you,
Indeed.
Tasia. You gave a mouthful tonight.
Look, political is not my strong suit. I'm not afraid to say that. So
Thanks for jumping on though.
Well, Friday we're talking the marriage bed. So if you want to
Back
be
up
on
off my
Friday, huh? Oh, so if you want to talk about the marriage bed, be here Friday, 8:00. Okay.
Did anybody make any molds?
You know,
I have the material.
It's in the works.
I need somebody. One day.
It's in the works.
You need the pattern.
Right. I need a pattern.
A specimen.
to create the mold
A
from.
willing participant.
Aha. Anybody have anything they wanted to end on real quick before we
if Jesus would
that.
have came just then, I'd have been the only one. My phone would have been the only one looking at nobody.
I do got something to say on that note. Drop it in the DM if you're willing to participate.
Now, when you wake up in the morning with a DM full of
D
pics, right? When you wake up in the morning,
I'm gonna make my selection. I'm gonna make my selection by Saturday.
At least you'll have candidates. That's all I can say. You know.
My selection by Saturday.
Number 3, you're a winner.
D number 3. I'm gone.
Wait a minute. The realist, did you make them all?
Hey, what the owl told the kid at the end of the center of the Tootsie Roll?
The world may never know.
The world may never know.
Whatever. I think the world knows because you came up with that judge. Anyway, he probably made several molds. Practice makes perfect. Did y'all have anything y'all wanted to share?
I think we've always overshared tonight.
Okay.
For sure.
Well, thank you everyone for joining.
Good.
Come back Friday, 8 p.m. Marriage bed.
Love y'all.
I might be on at work though, but I'll be there.
Keep the volume low. Keep the volume low.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies, do you want to talk about the men? Should we talk about the men? I'm joking. She's like, yes, let's talk about it. All right. Thank you all for joining. I appreciate everyone that was on. The Realist, aka Leroy, All About Me, aka Ashley, Papa Doc, aka Black J, and on the Wing of the Prayer, Tasha, and me. I'm here. Make sure you join us Friday, 8 p.m. We're talking the marriage bed. What's okay? What's not okay? Limits, unlimited, boop-a-bop. Talking about it. See you guys then.